I hear you.
Good night, everybody. Welcome to Comics Asylum Live with Jay and Steve. We got a pre-Fan Expo episode tonight, as I guess the big con in Canada kicks off in another couple of days, and a whole bunch of our friends, and I'm not sure if Jay's going, will be down at the event, and wishing everyone who's going and involved all the best of luck in the next couple of days and over the weekend. So, Jay, welcome. And I also know that, as we were talking, I guess, backstage, that you are a bit of a marathon man when it comes to doing streams today.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a fun little aside right there. Holy crap. Yeah, like today, three straight live streams. Not back to back exactly, but I had one like 4 o'clock, then I had another one at 7 o'clock, and then I have, and that's right, 8 o'clock, and now I literally just jumped off that last one, right, and rolled right into this one. So I might cross. My brain is kind of wired now, so I might cross into like different. You know, I'll say something weird, and you're like, "What was that?" And oh shit, that was last live stream.
No worries. Well, we got some interesting topics today. But first off, what I want to start with is Todd McFarlane's Medieval Spawn Kickstarter. Are you aware of this campaign?
I was made aware of it this morning when I saw the I think it was a tweet. And it's just Todd holding up Medieval Spawn, and then the original Medieval Spawn from Todd's Toys from way back. So I mean, yes, I am very aware of it. Are you asking me what I think of it? Because,
well, let's take a look at it. We'll roll the video from the Kickstarter, and then we can dive into it. Not only what do you think of it, but also what it did in a 5-hour span. So if you could take a look here, this is in Canadian dollars, but I think it's 1,300 US. 1.3 million US. My bad on that
one. Steve, are you on a laptop, or you're on your desktop? What do you want?
On my desktop.
Okay.
So let's see if I can get this one rolling here.
All right, everybody, Todd McFarlane here. Let's talk about our second Kickstarter, right? So back in 2020, during the pandemic, we did our first Kickstarter based on the very first line, remastering the first series of figures. Well, one of the figures that was in that first line, not Spawn, we already did him, Medieval Spawn. We're going to do Medieval Spawn. If you guys remember, this is what he looked like way back when we first started making toys, but we're getting way better at it. So now we're going to come out with what I think is easily our most detailed figure to date here, right? Look at this thing. This thing is crazy, no matter what it is. And we're going to have 3 versions of it. We're going to have one that's an unpainted prototype for all you customizers out there. You guys will get that one. And then we're going to have the black version. And he'll come with the cape, just like this guy in the cowl. Right, it'll be up there, but I just took the cape off so you can see. Even on the back, we have the detail. Even on the back, even though we got a big cape on them, right? We want to make sure that you got lots of detail, no matter where you go. Tons of flexibility, tons of articulation on this. But let me show you a couple of the fun things on here that we're going to be doing. You can be able to like swap out a bunch of the pieces. You're going to see some of them. I'm going to show you here, but some of them are going to be super easy. You want to swap out that forearm? It's a magnet. Right? Take it on, take it off. But if you want to swap it out, you take this one, pull it off, 1001, 1002, it's on. Same thing on this other side. Take it off, take it on. You click it on and off. These are going to be magnets. The chests are going to be magnets. You're going to be able to pull it off and on. Some other pieces like the head, you're going to have to snap on and off. But we wanted to make some of them as fun and easy to do as possible. And if we reach our goal, and I hope we do, then you're possibly gonna get all of these in your box with no additional cost. So we've got all the weapons here with cool detail front and back, right? Some big weapons here, some big weapons here. Man, I'm missing a big giant sword. Got 2 shield, We got a mace with the chain on it. We got a couple of them, a couple chest pieces that would be magnetic that you put on. We've actually got a second set of collar on it, but then you get all the different heads here. Here's another sort of cool piece. And we got all these different heads, right? So let's look at these heads. Besides, some of them are just cool. We got that one's cool. We got this one is cool just to look at, but look at the fun on this one. If you raise it up, there's a face underneath it. So you can go up or down, up or down. And then we've got some of the ones where you just have him with his head on there. And then we've got like a mask, but look at it's going to be soft. Why? So that you can take this, and if you want to put a helmet on this guy, you can put a helmet or you can pull it off. So you can be able to put helmet on, helmet off on these guys. So all of this that you see here, although I'm missing a big one, the big giant Mondo sword that's in here, but you can get that. You can buy a single one. You can buy the 3-pack we're going to have. You get all 3 of them. And then we're going to have ones where I'm going to do autographs for you, right? We're going to have the plates. I'll show you that later. So you can get autographs, different colors, hopefully all these different things here. Starting Tuesday, everybody, Tuesday, Kickstarter. Take a look at it.
Well, Tuesday has come and gone. And Todd made his ask in 5 hours.
Yep. This is okay. So I guess you're asking for a reaction from me.
Yeah, just what you're our toy maven, toy guru. So tell me what you think.
I'm not surprised. I mean, the first go around, which he alluded to, which was during the pandemic, I think he it wasn't as fast, but I think he had the ask within half a day, and then I think he had close to $1 million within the first 3 days, right? So this, which is arguably one of the most popular spawns, right? Medieval spawn. He's got that huge, gigantic, freaking fat leg, and he's got the armor, he's got the cape and the gauntlets, right? But now he's taking a page out of Ramen Toy, at Ramen Toy's books, and introduced magnets.
Right.
Everything's better.
That's cool.
Everything's better with magnets. Everything is better with freaking magnets, man. Magnets should be a standard in toys, right? But the reason they aren't is because they're not cheap, right? But when you're talking about a Kickstarter, right, like this, Todd can ask for anything. He only asked for $100,000 as a starting goal, right?
Yeah.
If you want to do the quick tip, if you want to do the US price, scroll all the way down to the bottom, change the currency, right? Then you can show the US prices on there. Right?
All right, so let's do that for our US viewers.
Scroll all the way down.
Scroll all the way down.
See where it says Canadian currency right at the bottom? Further down. More. There it is.
There we go. Got it. US dollar. Continue.
Yeah.
Bam. There we go. 1.3 million US.
1.37. We're almost on the way to 1.4.
Almost.
And
yeah.
I guarantee you, as we're waiting for this to keep going, it's just going to keep boop, boop, boop. It's going to keep ticking up and up and up. So if you want to click Control Plus, if you want to click Control Plus on your keyboard, Steve,
is this going to work on a Mac?
The Command Plus.
Yep. What's that going to do?
Well, if are you on the browser? Yeah. Click Command Plus, and it should. Yeah, keep going. Plus again. There you go.
Oh, you just want me to enlarge it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. Tell me when it's maxed out, because I can't see it from my section.
Oh, sorry. It's maxed out. Yeah, you're
okay. Good. So they've got 6,800 backers, crawling up to 6,900 with 28 days to go.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
There it goes. Do you see that? It just climbed.
Did it tick up?
It just climbed.
6,850.
Yeah.
Someone's watching the stream. And
That's right. That's right.
Decided to back it.
Yeah.
Wow. So almost 1.4 million.
Yep. It's gonna reach 1.4 before the end of the night. Trust me.
Yeah.
One thing about Spawn, it's never failed to capture its audience. Spawn has fans for life. Like people
Yeah.
just absolutely dig Spawn. It's crazy.
Yeah, those ground floor fans who grew up on the comic, the cartoon, and the movie, they're lifers. Like it's that generation Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman when you think about it.
No, 100%. It's amazing to me that Jim Lee hasn't tried to really capitalize on the original Wildcats.
Mm.
The young. What happened to Youngblood? Where are the Youngblood fans, man? Like Youngblood was massive.
Yeah, but
right?
I think in fairness, Rob, he decided or probably realized that Deadpool is a bit more of a cash cow right now, and then I guess he can flip this into Youngblood now if he wanted to afterwards.
Yeah, no, he's always going to get that royalty check, right? At the end of the day,
Mhm.
but he doesn't technically really own the property outright. It's still a Marvel thing,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Whereas here, Uncle Toddy here, he's just like a little Canadian Vancouver boy. He's freaking rolling in it right now, like absolutely bonkers, right? And he owns his own toys. He owns his own toy company, right? None of the other artists out there, they didn't even, they were like, toys. Who's gonna do toys? And Todd's like, oh, you guys have no idea. And there you go. He's literally just creating his toy empire right now. It's absolutely insane. And
Yeah.
to his credit, these are badass looking. You know what I mean? He's learned a lot over the last 15 years. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, that's impressive. It's 7 inches tall, 32 points of articulation. Original art on the cover by the award-winning Todd McFarlane. You get 3 color variations: classic blue, black, and the primer gray, which we saw in the video. 3-pack. The premium 3-pack is limited to 700.
Those are already gone. They're like, if you look at the rewards, those are sold out. They've got to be.
Let me see here. The medieval black. They've got 1,200 backers just for this one alone.
Yep, insane.
That is insane. This one, the gray, only 33. Let's see where the 3-pack is. 210, 2,100, and there's still some. You can, if you have 210 US kicking around, you can still get some. But the all gone is the premium 3-pack for 350, as you said earlier.
Sold out.
That's gone, and there's your 700.
Yep,
gone.
Sold out. Yep. Didn't even have a chance. Did not even have a chance.
So here's my question. Flipor, when does this get flipped?
Oh, Flipor was on that for the 700. He's one of those guys. He was right at the beginning. He had catcher swoop in and just take 200 to 700. Those are going to be on eBay. They're on eBay already. I guarantee you, they're already on eBay. Like, look it up. They're already on eBay. I guarantee you. Medieval Spawn, right? It's already up there. Trust me.
Let me check.
We got some pretty cool comments in the chat right now.
Let me get the Spawn up, and then I'll come back to the. I'll come back to the comments. Oh wow. Okay. So you ready for this one?
I was born ready, man. I was born.
Let me kick it up because we're in your wheelhouse right now. So let me go share screen. Is it this one? I think it's this one.
See, what did I?
But
tell
it's
you?
CA. It's CA though. So let's just see, because I don't. Those are Canadian dollars.
Yeah. Click on. Yeah, go to the bottom. See if it's there.
Do they have the same?
They might.
Same thing? This might be scrolling forever.
No, go back to the top. Yeah, go back to the top.
I'm not giving anyone motion sickness looking at.
Go back to the top. Go back to the top. Click on the flag. And no, that's the one. Hold on. Where is it? It's there somewhere.
I might have to do the CA. That's all.
Yeah.
.com. Sorry.
Yeah. .com. You're right. No, you're right. That's all you have to do. It's just .com. So just replace the .ca with .com. It should come right up. It should come right up.
All right, so I'm going to open up another window.
No. You can do it right here. Just do just replace with .com. It should come right. It should come right up.
No, because I'm on that section. It's got like a whole bunch of like the URL's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it should actually work. Give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it's just going to give you a 404. So just take the CA and change it to COM. It should work.
Doesn't seem to be rolling for me. So let's do it here then.
It's still channel.
$733. There we go.
That's still ridiculous. That's insane.
Are you guys seeing it?
No, we're not. Just copy the URL and just paste it into the window you had before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like with these Kickstarters, Todd is just printing money. He's literally just absolutely printing money. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely insane.
You know what? I'll come back to that because I'm making a mess of moving all around here.
Well, you're on it. You're on it now. So if you just replace the URL, you should be good.
Yeah, I tried it.
Just type in ebay.com and do the search again. It should be fine. Okay, whatever reason it didn't change on this. You might want to close this window because it's not. How many windows do you have up? There we go.
Let me see here. So let me go back to. You know what? Let me close all the others.
Sure. So good to see you, Pedro. Andrew. Oh my gosh, good to see you, Andrew. And Color O'Connor. That's the medieval spawn I wanted. It looks so fat and so fat looking, like the best spawn ever made. A lot of people do like that spawn, that's for sure.
Oh, you know what's crazy on this?
Mm.
It flips me back to Canadian anyway.
That's weird. Why would it do that?
But then it goes approximately 733 US.
There you go. Okay, there we go.
So it's doubled. It's tripled. It's tripled its value already.
Well, some people want to triple its value.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, just crazy. Yeah. So, if you want to throw up a couple of those comments, we can answer them together.
Sure. So let's go. Let's go with. That's the medieval spawn I wanted. It looks so fat. That's the one you just read by Cooler O'Connor. Absolutely. How you doing? Thanks for the comment. Pedro Lopez. I need a new spawn figure representation. Been a long time. Luis Ortiz has, what's up, everyone? An awesome video, bro, Jay. Thanks, Luis. Joshua, should I get the Black Series just in case they get discontinued? Jay, what are you saying? Like, fill me in on that. What does that mean?
Well, it depends. Okay, so basically, that's in relation to the Acolyte. The Acolyte, sorry.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that because there's some interesting stuff going on with. You're talking about Star Wars, right? Yeah. There's some interesting things that just popped up recently regarding that. The figure looks nice. This is by Jim Gillespie, but it doesn't look like the medieval spawn I'm familiar with. Yeah, it looks like it's a completely new reboot of whatever the design was previously.
Yeah, this is its own Kickstarter version. So they might even, depending on what it is, he might actually even attach a new comic to it, which would make it even more desirable.
Yeah, for sure, especially if he does any of the artwork. Youngblood is in trademark hell. I did not know that. Well, that would stop it from getting made. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how that's working with All Faults, but you might be right. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm. And then G Zambrano comes with the actual scroll selling. All right, you're gonna have to help me out with that one, Jay.
It comes with the actual scroll selling your soul to.
Oh, yes, of course.
That's why I was laughing.
About Youngblood, someone else has the rights to the characters now. Man, when you lose the rights to your own characters, that's tough. Ask Marvel; they know all about that.
Yeah, that's why you got to keep a hold of your IPs, man.
That's right.
That's
But if you chase the dollars, sometimes that's when you end up in that situation.
It's true.
Fran Captain America says, "Hello, Jay. How you doing?"
Hello.
D Rock says, "Good evening."
What's going on, brother?
Good. Don't worry about the typos. I'm the typo
That's all
king.
right.
It's all good, man.
That's
It's all
all right.
good.
The phone is at fault always.
Absolutely. Thunder ho. Absolutely.
Wrong stream, friend. I appreciate that. I appreciate
sure.
that.
Hopefully we cover that the Superpowers from McFarlane crowdfund got funded because he brought down the amount they needed. Oh, interesting. So it was a higher initial ask.
No. He so this is not like this is actually the second crowdfund he's done in the last month. So he did a Superpowers crowdfund. But I believe it wasn't, I don't think it was Kickstarter. I think it was McFarlane.com only.
Okay.
And yeah, it didn't make it.
It didn't make it.
It didn't make it. No.
Do you know what his ask was for?
I can't remember anymore. Joshua, you want to give us a quick rundown of the McFarlane Superpowers crowdfund? I believe it's because he was just asking way too much for each character. Like like these are superpower figures, like, which are in the same style as they were back in the 80s. So they only have 5 points of articulation. You know what I mean? They're very much in the same style and same size, 5.5-inch figures. You know what I mean? So if you remember the old Superpowers figures, it's not it's not that far of a departure from there. A little bit better sculpture, a little bit better, material. But again, when you're doing exclusive crowdfunds, they shouldn't cost that much. It just makes no sense.
Like a very minor update, basically, on the OG design.
Kind of, not even that in many respects. Omega Primus is saying exactly what.
He's talking about Acolyte. Canceled after one season on Disney Plus. Do you want to pivot into that?
Well, if you're done with this one, sure.
Is there anything else that you want to say about?
So in basically, if you want to just go quickly back to the Kickstarter itself, I'll just make some minor notes. I mean, it doesn't really come as a surprise. The first Kickstarter was wildly popular. He had his funding within the first week. You know what I mean? And he had the funding within the first few days, and then he had like he hit $1 million within the first week or so. It was absolutely at time one of the biggest action figure Kickstarters on Kickstarter, right? Since then, a couple of others have hit the $1 million mark. So I mean, it's not unheard of, right? So, and this is Toddy Mack we're talking about. He actually has the resources, he has the company, he has everything in place to make these things. He has the partnerships with all of the companies overseas, so he doesn't really have to worry about it. It's kind of so. This is one of those things where you have to ask yourself: is this disingenuous to be asking fans to fund this action figure? You know what I mean?
So that's a great point, because finish your point, because it's also coming up in comic books as well too.
Yeah, exactly.
And crowdfunding.
Exactly. It's one of these things where, but you know what? It's different when you're a small indie company asking for the help from the community. This is this is Todd freaking McFarlane, man. He has his own independent toy company, which is associated with Disney, which is associated with DC, associated with Warner Brothers. He's still.
Wait. You're not even going with the sports. Like all of the sports.
Yeah, that's
NHL, right? NBA, NFL, like everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like
NHL. Can't leave out my Canadian brothers.
He's cornered the market on action figures in his wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Arguably. Yeah. Are they the best figures in the world? Absolutely not. Right? Are they enough that the fans continue to buy them and want more? Yes, 100%. Because DC fans love the multiverse, right? The multiverse to them is huge. And then of course that's not even talking about Spawn fans, just actual Spawn freaking loyalists. Like, this is crazy. Think about it. In like what was it, 6 hours? Not 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it was. He hit $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, insane, right? So it's one of these things where Todd knows his market. He understands what the fans want, and he's a fan himself. So yeah, he gets it. He absolutely gets it. And look, he even anticipated. If you scroll down a bit, scroll up a bit. Sorry, Scroll up. Down. Sorry, down. Keep going. There. More free bonuses for hitting 1.25 million. Right now, he's getting into the astronomical thing. Right, where he's just giving away stuff now. Right.
Do you want to see what he's giving away?
Sure, go for it.
All right, everybody, Todd McFarlane here. It's time to give you more free stuff. Since we've gone way past this number here, and we've given you 4 free items before, it's time for us to give you some more items. There's some cool packaging, slipcover there. And remember, it's going to be the fastest shipping that you'll ever get. So I'm going to give you 2 items today, right? Here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the collar, the new collar chain, right? This is the one with the spawn symbols on it, right? The pre-existing one is the one that's got the skulls, right? So you'll get now this alternate one here with the spawn symbol on it. To change it out, it's the one that holds the cape up in, and then you can take off the chest piece. And more importantly, I'm going to give you this cool big Mondo spiked piece here, right? That's one of the magnetic pieces. If you turn it around, you can see the magnet in there. Right? So if you just go over to, like, here it is right here. Here's the one that's going to come with it. Take it off. Take this one. Literally put it on, and it's on, right? Off, on, stays. If you want to swap it out, take the other magnet one, boom, and it clicks in place, right? So you get a magnet gauntlet with what I call the big spike one, which is kind of cool. And you're going to get, let's see, we go here, and you're going to get the additional one right there. More to come. Hopefully, we want to give you lots more, right? So anyway, so you can dress your guy up and make him super cool.
Literally, he's just giving away little peanuts now. But people are eating it up, man. They're eating it up like
Pretty
savages.
much.
Absolute savages are just eating this stuff up. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. So Joshua, I hope you're right too. I hope that it's 100% going to cover everything that that he lost in the superpowers one for sure.
So which one are you looking at there?
Sorry, for me.
Which comment was that?
No, that was Joshua. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the previous one. Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
And hold on a second here. Derek has a comment. Superpowers crowdfunding got funded. It has 8 more days to go. It's at 108% funding.
There you go. I wasn't even paying attention to it anymore. So basically, awesome. So again, he cannot do it. He does no wrong. Todd McFarlane. Toddy Mac is like he's like printing freaking money.
Yeah, Pedro says he could bring his spawn to Target, but this deluxe offering would sit on shelves till clearance. Why would he do that? So that's a good point.
But it obviously doesn't need to. He's literally just selling to the masses now, he's literally pre-selling it to everybody who really wants it. Arguably scalpers, arguably flippers, but I mean, like, eBay's got to pay those bills somehow. I mean, like, it's crazy, right, guys?
Essentially eliminating the middleman, right?
He doesn't need a middleman.
That's right.
Direct sales.
Think about it. It was 100. Distribution is paid for by the backer. So there you go.
It's crazy. Like he's like, you could tell just how confident he is in Spawn. We asked for 150,000. No, we asked for 100,000, right? Yeah. For a single figure, right? With multiple variants plus accessories plus things, right? He was like, let's just throw it to the people and see what happens. And now 1.4 million dollars later, you know what I mean? He's got 28 days to go. Absolute insanity. Pure absolute insanity. Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see what Cooler says. I hope they make enough figures to supply the demand. I hate to make McFarlane figures sold out incredibly fast. Yeah, they would, because of the demand, right? And also what the figure is on, for sure. With all faults, will be some high production numbers.
Yep, that much is true.
And Lord Hoagie, how you doing?
Welcome. Going on, Lord Hoagie? Good to see you.
Yeah, so that's insane. And it's kind of interesting that you're mentioning that, because I know that it came up in comics as well too, using like established companies. So now I'm talking about one-off kind of struggling or emerging creators, but established companies, the big two, or even some of the independent but not quite independent companies that are decently funded, going to Kickstarter to get projects funded, and you're wondering, well, if they are going to the fans, does that crowd out the smaller campaigns?
Well, this question continues to come up, right? Who was Kickstarter made for? Kickstarter was made for artists and creators to have an avenue which is not available to them, right? It's an avenue which is which was made available to access the goodwill of fans, right? But now you got these billion-dollar companies, Mattel, right, making their own Kickstarters on their own platform, Hasbro making their own Kickstarters on their own crowdfunds on their platform. Now you have Todd McFarlane utilizing actual Kickstarter, right? And that's kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, you do kind of sit there and just wonder, like, is this really supposed to be for them? I mean, they already have. They could walk to the bank tomorrow and say, "Hey, I'd like to fund this action figure," and I just need a loan, right?
Yeah.
Instead, they're now just going direct to because they know that that's guaranteed money, right?
Oh,
The Rattler right now, it reached its second tier, right?
Wow.
And now it's right onto its last tier, which is the Baroness, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, is it going to reach? It's going to reach." It's absolutely going to reach. 100%. They got 20 days left or something like that. It's 100% going to reach.
And this is part of it too, right? Like that, the speculation going back and forth amongst the fan base or anyone who are backers or following it, that also helps to drive up the attention. So it's almost like it's like a triple win when you look at it.
No, it is a win in many cases, but at the same time, there is a lot of questions as to, like, Todd's good at giving away stuff, and his initial ask was okay, but as you see coming along to, he feasibly, let's call a spade here. Feasibly, he could just throw in another figure
for sure.
Yeah, right now, like he only asked for $100,000, right? He's got $1 million. That's like 10 times what he actually asked for.
Also, too, kind of, you've done it before. You know what your market share is, and the interest in the product. The $100,000 ask is like asking for $10, really. Like, he could ask for a lot more, but man, it looks good when you smash it in 3 hours and make 10 times as much.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And not only that, the investors are like, oh hell, And again, it's a private company. I get it, but it doesn't matter. The banks are in this case, the banks are your investors. Right? They're looking at that as like, you just raised $1 million in 3 hours. All right, what loan do you need tomorrow? What type of line of credit do you need now? Right? Anything he asked for, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. With all funds, it's a loss for most small folk. I don't know if it's a loss. I mean, you have the option now to fund it now, right? But those exclusive packs, limited of 700. Yeah, those are the ones which no one's going to get a hand of right now, right? They're gone. Like all the Flipper Franks of the world and all the Flip Wars of the world, they've already secured that and are about to make like massive deals, right? And then we have Pedro who's saying, if HasLab did this crowdfunding for figures instead of limited releases, would that work better? That's a tough thing to say, right? But I don't think they do individual figures like that. You know what I mean? I don't think that's the way they. Like whenever they do a HasLab, HasLab was created for dream projects, right? Big projects that you would never see in stores, right? And that's the argument that's being made here. So somebody mentioned it earlier. These should go to Target, right? These are the types of items that really should go retail, right? You don't need to spend, what is it, like $60-$70 on this figure? It just doesn't make any sense, right? But here comes Todd, and he's like, no, I'm going to give you a comic, I'm going to give you all this stuff, I'm going to give you some limited edition, this and this and this, right? And they're only going to be 700 of these ones, so they're $200 each or whatever the heck it was, right? I'm just pulling numbers out of a hat right now, but the reality is, FOMO, right? The fear of missing out, and false scarcity drive the market. That's actually, it's the same old story from comics. Where do you think Todd learned all this stuff? He learned it from comics, right?
Comics, cards, everything.
The terms are all there. People don't realize what's going on, right? But the term chase, Todd brought that into toys from comics.
Yeah.
Right. The chase covers. Right. Everything. All the things that action figures are clinging onto now. These terms and all the stuff. It's all because it was based off the comic model. That's how they work this now. It's because of Todd.
And when he was coming up, the speculation boom was like probably at its zenith, right?
100%.
In comics, like it was insane, like how speculators drove up the market. And then when the bottom fell out of it, the comics unfortunately had a hard fall. But basically, those business practices are just being templated into another area, which is
it's a rinse and repeat, right? It worked for comics, now it's working for action figures, right? It's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers.
Well, Todd's gotten enough airtime with us, and congrats to him on that. But let's talk about Acolyte. Speaking of a huge,
do we have to?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting what has happened because, admittedly, I haven't watched the series to its entirety. So I think I'm 3 episodes in, right? And I'm late.
I am 3. I was 3.
I followed your rule.
Yes, right? And it's a decent rule. I was 3 episodes in. I got busy and I dropped off. But I've heard enough about what's going on with it to fill a lifetime. So, I mean, we can talk about it till the cows come home. Right now, I'm pretty sure. But what's your take on it right now, Steve? I mean, like I have like even with the 3 episodes I watched, I already have. I already predicted a bunch of stuff. And I'm curious to find out what your take on it is right now.
Okay, so just putting all my cards on the table. When it comes to Star Wars, I've kind of I've let it go. Right? There's
you and so many other people, man.
There's a lot of great programming out there that aren't getting enough eyeballs. So I'm kind of looking at that stuff, but. I gave, I guess, the Rey movies a chance. I think I watched 1.5 of them. And it just wasn't for me, right? But that's great. I've heard great things about, is it Andor? The series where they're building the Death Star.
Andor.
Everyone says watch that.
Yeah,
because Andor is the moon, right? So it's Andor.
Yeah.
And it's spectacular. So I will watch that when I get some time, when I'm done with the comic book. Making my comic book and stuff, but I will watch it just as a show, not because I'm a Star Wars head.
Yeah. But Andor by far for me is the most refreshing show in Star Wars right now. Like seriously, I really enjoyed Andor.
But I'll tell you, the reason why I didn't jump onto any of these shows was because I was all in on Mandalorian. Mandalorian season 1, I was like, you got it. Like this, you're giving me what I've been asking for probably since the Sarlacc pit.
Yes,
and Boba Fett got devoured, and then they gave Book of Boba Fett, and I was like, "This is not doing it for me." When it comes to the Acolyte, because I didn't watch Ahsoka at all, but when it comes to the Acolyte, it's almost like I'm not quite sure what story they're telling. Like the production value is great, like the series looks great. That the money was put into the sets, CGI, the volume, whatever. And it like I feel for the crew and I feel for the cast that it's not being renewed. But if this is a story about the genesis of the Sith, I wasn't looking for that path of storytelling to be used to do that.
Okay, so if you're gonna go that far into it, I'm gonna put some insight into it. That I watched a review of the ending.
Okay.
So let's take a minute and talk about that portion of it.
Sure.
Because well, first let's answer these 3 questions here. Pedro Lopez starts off with if you're missing out on. If you're missing out, you're missing out if y'all don't watch at least the battle episode. So I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yeah, the choreography, the fight choreography I've heard is off the chain.
Yes, I have heard that. Particularly when the stranger, does his thing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up seeing that. So here's the thing about that. I'm pretty sure that if I don't decide to watch it, I'm pretty sure YouTube's going to have it in spades eventually. Like you're just going to see all this, things popping up like crazy, right? So I'm not really too worried about that. I will eventually watch the rest of the series because I am curious. You know what I mean? And Color has another comment here. He says Disney has failed so much with this kind of woke content. How? Why are they not learning? See, I keep hearing this term woke, and I sort of now know what that means. But I'll be honest with you. There's at least in the first 3 episodes, I don't see any problem with what they're presenting. It's a coven of witches, and you know the the introduction of Immaculate Conception, that's happened before. I mean, that's Darth Vader. You know what I mean? So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all, right? I mean, if you have a whole coven of powerful Jedi, Force users, and remember, you got to understand that the Dathomir witches use the Force differently than Jedi. So what seems like magic to the Jedi, because again we look at the Force like magic too, right? But what seems like magic to the Jedi is actually just a different way of using the Force for the Dathomir witches, right? So what's actually happening here, right? But having said that, the whole intrigue behind what happened, who killed them, all this kind of stuff that happens, and then what actually happened, who set the fire, this and that's supposed to be a whodunit in the rest of the series, right? That's actually supposed to.
Okay, before you even go ahead and get to the review, I'm just going to go and say, you can tell where I would be shocked if I call it wrong when I get to the end of it. It's pretty paint by numbers in terms of who set the fire. It's a long play, right? And we've seen the long play in Star Wars.
There is a twist. There is a twist, actually, Steve.
Right?
There is a twist, and we can talk about it. But first of all, I want to give a huge shout out to the Felon Attorney Oregon. Thank you for the $2 super sticker, my friend. What's up, Jay? You lost weight? Missed me? I lost weight. Thank you, my friend. I don't think I have.
You know what that is? That's standing in line in San Diego.
Yes, I was sweating
in the blazing heat.
That was sweat. That was sweat reduction. True, it was all that walk. It was all that walking I did. 100%. It was all that standing in line and just sweating under the heat lamps. It was crazy. Thank you again, Felon Attorney. Really appreciate it.
For sure. Let's go to Pedro here. What was woke?
I mean, like it is. I think a lot of people just this term woke is used as a buzzword for whenever something is just terrible, and it's all that's fine, right? If you didn't enjoy the series, you didn't enjoy the series, right? I'm gonna finish it eventually, but for now, whatever. G. Zambrano says, yeah, same thing. The dumb basery of everything. Yeah, it's a catch-all phrase now, right? That's basically what it's turned into, a catch-all phrase. Everybody says, if anytime somebody disagrees with somebody else, it's like woke. So I don't even understand what it really means. But
let me ask you a question though, right? Because in a way, is the Acolyte's failure also a product of its time and the way that television is not only consumed, but also produced and then disseminated? Because I think of other series, like, I'm just dating myself here, but if you go back to series like Seinfeld, right? Arguably one of the greatest shows on television. Its first season wasn't great in terms of ratings, right? And if someone got into Larry David's wheelhouse or kitchen and forced him, if the execs got in there and forced him to change the series, or social media was as big as it is now, right? Would a show like Seinfeld have survived to then become the cultural hit? Like, because sometimes these shows, depending on how they're developed, they're fully developed before they go, depending on how long they've been worked on, or does it get greenlit and then you're developing a show in 2 years, right? And then how much studio meddling gets into it. So I wonder if part of what we're seeing is the real-time, it's almost like watching sports. Your team doesn't do well, you boo them. And hopefully they turn it around. Unfortunately, there's no fourth quarter in these shows because everything's shot and in the can, right? So course corrections are hard. And I wonder if it's not, like, I'm not saying the series is great, but there's a part of me that's like, okay, it's canceled. I wonder where they were taking it.
I tend to think, and you know what? It's funny because the way you mentioned that seasons used to be like a season used to be like a minimum 24 episodes. Actually, if you really go back to syndication and syndication rules, actually, in order to get syndication, you actually had to reach like 48 episodes. It was actually a requirement, right? But it's interesting how an actual season was 24 to 48 episodes, right? And then a season was like 24 episodes, right?
Yeah, 22 to 24.
Yeah, 22 to 24. And now it's all the way down to 10 to 12.
13,
you know what I mean?
Depending on
that kind of thing, right? Yeah. It's in anime terms, that's kind of like it went from a television series down to an OVA. You know what I mean? But streaming is like that, right? Because the budgets are bigger, right? The effects are bigger, the sets are bigger. You know what I mean? Like everything, they've all become mini movies in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? People are asking for bigger, broader, and lesser, right? Less is more kind of situation, right? But then that falls into what you're saying. You know, would Seinfeld have been, you know, the 10-year? I can't even remember how many seasons did it have? Like 12 seasons?
I think close to that.
Yeah,
it's not in Simpsons territory.
No, it's not.
It's long.
I mean, Simpsons is far overdue for a retirement, in my opinion. Like how many more? Like they
to
went
be honest
past,
with you, and South Park. I'm like, they're still on. I'm like, what?
They went, like, they got into toilet humor, and then they went past, they actually found a place which is not toilet humor. You know what I mean? It was like this cesspool of whatever, right?
Yes.
Just absolute lunacy. You know, people are cutting their limbs off, putting them back on. You know, kind of just weird stuff. But in terms of like things like the Acolyte and how the runner show is happening now, I think you have you're on the nose there somewhere. I think you're on the right track anyway. I think that what's like, no matter what, it's funny how if you don't get past back in the day when Seinfeld was doing it, they would take a risk on like 10 episodes and then see where that ran. And if it didn't hit 10 episodes, they can't hit. These days, you do a pilot, and if the pilot doesn't actually test well, boom, you're dead. Like you know, Wonder Woman was a very famous example of that. You know, she had one show and then all of a sudden gone.
David E. Kelly's reboot.
Yeah, it was completely gone, right? She had the hot pants on. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was crazy.
The actress from what's the one? This not the Orville. The actress who's the lead with Seth MacFarlane in the Orville. Sure. She was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she was also in John Wick. She was in multiple shows. But one thing about sitcoms and comedies and rom-coms, you know, things like that, they have a certain, you know, I guess wiggle room. They have a certain wiggle room because, you know, sometimes like, you know, the old classics like Cheers or you know, some of the family sitcoms that were like, you know, Full House and stuff like that. You know, there is a little bit of wiggle room because it's trying to find, like, they feel like they need to find their audience. And again, the whole pitch of Seinfeld is a show about nothing, right? So right away they're kind of like, all right, are we gonna, like, I can't remember who it was, Fox or somebody else, whoever took the risk on it. They're probably like, okay, you know, this is gonna take a while to get its audience, kind of like Married with Children and stuff like that, right? So they'll give it another season because the ratings were just enough to keep it around, right? And all of a sudden, boom, it became this huge, you know, sensational hit over, like, seemingly overnight, right? And then people just couldn't get enough of it over and over and over again. And, you know, it's to his credit, Jerry Seinfeld recognized that it needs to end at some point, right? You know, there's only so much we can do with this anymore, right? How many more stories about nothing can you write? Which is actually not out. You know, he could have gone. It's funny because if he had stuck around for another 5 or 6 years, he would have realized the internet is like the biggest thing to talk about nothing. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
So I like where you're going with that. And before we get into the comments, because we've got some really great comments, where you're going with this might also be an issue. Is there just too much Star Wars content?
You're not even candy coating it anymore, right? You're not even candy. Like, the fans have pretty much given up on Star Wars. Like, nobody's buying the toys anymore, which is arguably one of the biggest bread and butter that they have, right?
Jay, not to cut you off, but apparently Acolyte merchandise has been removed from the Disney store.
Okay, here's a famous saying. Okay, that all of us toy collectors have adopted pretty much. What it's gonna like wait for it to go on clearance. B, it'll show up at Ollie's. Well, anything Hasbro related ends up at freaking Ollie's or at Ross Dress for Less or
Ross,
all freaking,
man.
yeah,
Love
Ross.
I love Ross.
Ross is the place. Ross is the place. Right, so that's the problem, right? Everybody's just waiting for this stuff to go on clear. Like we're still like here's a famous one. We're still finding. I actually went to Buffalo, New York, and I found her on Ollie's, and I was like, I wonder if I'm going to find. And I turned the corner. I'm like, oh my god, there she is. Holdo. I'm like, this isn't a Hordor. This is General Holdo. Okay, she's lit like 30, 40, 50 of them. All of them, just like you're like the legends are true. Like
right.
There are millions of these things just hanging around, and they can't like Ollie's can't give them away. Ollie's cannot give these things away. It's crazy, and it just keeps like sticking on the shelves. It's nuts, and that's what's going to happen with the Acolyte. Unfortunately, that's how that's going to go. No, like I was at San Diego Comic-Con. I saw them on display. They look great. Okay, they look absolutely great. And you know what? I argue that I will pick up that little Jedi figure. She's Chitara. All right, she's like if you know who I'm talking about. Literally, it's Chitara in a Jedi Chitara. Like seriously, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I also was like, isn't that a Star Trek design? So it was really odd, some of the stuff. But here's an interesting comment. I think by Felon Attorney Oregon. I won't ruin the series for you. Seinfeld is painful. Its first season really bad, and it's like sometimes it takes a while, especially with that kind of humor. Larry David's just kind of off anyway. His brand, where it takes a while to kind of gain traction, and where the creators themselves actually figure out, okay, this is the way to make it better. Right? Because you're kind of like you're doing these things. The same thing with when you're making a comic book. You're in such a vacuum, right? In an echo chamber when you're making these things. And if it's your first kick at the can, like, because I'm not sure if the writers for the Acolyte are experienced screenwriters or even who the showrunner is. But for me, it was the writing. The writing to me, just like I was like, I know they wanted to tell the story of the leads, but I was like, I want more to happen. Like what? Like give me more, and it wasn't going that way. You're muted.
Sorry, I don't know why I clicked afterwards. Yeah, no, and that seems to be the biggest problem with current media, right? They, for whatever reason, they're not getting to the point, and B, it doesn't seem like they really know what direction they're heading in. And like I said, we're going to talk about how it ended, if anything, and what a problem that actually is. And actually at 10:51, just above Jeff. Good to see you, Jeff. How you doing tonight?
Cheers, Jeff.
Yeah, just above that, Joshua is asking the question which you kind of answered just now. Should I get the figures? I don't know. I don't like the show, but I'm a Black Series completionist. It's gonna come to Ollie's, Joshua. I mean, like, it's Steve just said it's been taken off the Disney store. So once it does that, it's gonna go to Ollie's. Like that's just where it is. Jeff, and then Jeff follows up that on 10:53. I don't mind the Acolyte, but if you want to throw that
10:53.
10:53. Jeff Morse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind the Acolyte, but the episodes were very uneven, and the flashback episodes were not good in my opinion. The lightsaber battles were awesome though. Yeah. So there's a lot to take away from. There's a great amount of things to take away from it. 100%. So at the end of the day, there's things to like about it, and there's things to that a lot of people are going to be critical about. So and. We should blast through a couple of these other ones. There's actually a lot of them.
Oh, there's so much, and I'm loving it. G. Zambrano, no, not a catch-all. It's people hiding behind it instead of saying, "I don't like that the protagonist was brown. I don't like the protagonist was female," etc. Now, a series like Star Trek has always been woke, right? Like
Again,
Star
I'm not.
I'm just saying, Star Trek has always been woke, right? And I think when you look at just how diverse casting has been, it's like TV looks a lot different. Movies look a lot different than what it used to be. And we're seeing it in gaming. We're seeing it in television, where the main character used to be usually just a dude, a guy, right? Cisgendered guy. And now you're getting a more diverse hero palette. And for some people, it's, rubbing it the wrong way. And for some people, it works. But I think in the end, if the written material is great, because if you look at Star Wars, you've got Lando, you've got what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson's character, Mace Windu, right? You've got characters of color. So it's not necessarily that's the issue. It's how are they written? What are the stories like that they're in? And if the writing doesn't work, like for me, like I'm an artist first, but if the bones of your story aren't good, it doesn't matter, because you got to make cool characters and have cool villains. And I think one of the things that makes Star Wars really work is from the beginning, there's a badass villain. Vader is a badass villain. And when you get to a lot of these kind of derivative versions of Star Wars or other stories, they kind of move away from that, where we don't want the soft, cuddly villain, and we don't want the villain to be like in the shadows or at the. We want people that are using the Force to be fighting a kick-ass, awesome villain, and that makes a great story. Luke is cool, Han is cool, Leia is cool because they beat Vader and the Emperor, and Vader makes his mark. I don't know, 5 minutes into that movie, 3 episodes into Acolyte. To me, the most interesting character. You see him once. He flicks on the lightsaber, or she flicks on the lightsaber, and that's it. And then I haven't seen that individual since. And then I got a buddy of mine, Star Wars Nick, I'm calling you out. He loves I guess they're now called Legends, right? So with the novelizations from back in the day, right? Before Disney took over and kind of revamped the histories.
Sure.
And he was always about, you need Darth Plagueis. Like, you got to give me Darth Plagueis. And spoiler, I think a Plagueis appears in this series, but it's kind of one of those blink and you miss kind of moments. And so someone that you're really jonesing to see, you don't get to see.
Yeah. So yeah, let's and you know what you're saying is obviously those are great points, 100%. The thing is that I think your earlier point was true. We're at that point now where is anybody really asking for these shows? You know what I mean? I think that's really the question that a lot of people want answered, right? And the thing is, your buddy there, right? He wants the old Republic. You know, he wants the old Republic as it was written in the novelizations. He wants the old Republic as the video games. He wants the old Republic, the legends, to actually be made, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's not the way the current direction of Star Wars is heading. You know what I mean? Star Wars is now in a transitional period where they want to try new things. They want to try experiments. Some of them are working, some of them are not. I argue that still, and I'm really excited to find out. What's it called? Andor is in the right direction right now. I say the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian were spot on, right? Whereas the 3rd season kind of like, I don't know what happened, right? But the showrunners like Jean Favreau, you know what I mean, and whoever,
Filoni. Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni, right? They're still doing great Star Wars. You know what I mean? What's it called? Rebels. I think that was actually a really good series. I think that what's it called? The Bad Batch. I'm so glad they finished the Bad Batch. I was worried it wasn't going to get finished. It took so long for the final season to come out, right? Similar to the way Rebels almost didn't get its last season. You know what I mean? It's one of these things. And now Rebels, arguably, because you didn't watch it, but really, Ahsoka is Rebels the final season. You know what I mean? The actual final season, because Ezra disappears into the ether, and we finally find out what happens to Ezra. Was it the best? What is it the best version of Star Wars? With Ahsoka and Sabine Wren doing their thing, right? It depends on what you think of as Star Wars, right? So they're trying different things, and a lot of them are not hitting, and that's the problem. A lot of them, a whole lot of them, are not hitting the mark, right? So this is just another kick at the can, and it just did not hit the mark. Like the real problem was it's like, okay, so let's cherry pick a couple of these ones, because there's a lot of people just going back and forth about woke and whatever that terminology means. But
where do you want to go?
Let's just say, yeah, let's go to the Villain Attorney at 10:55. Let's start with that one. Uneven for sure. It's the characters not acting consistently or how they should. Not like in Star Trek not like Star Trek isn't looking great. That Section 31 trailer was trash. Yeah. So again, there's a lot to take in there. Obviously both play in the same yard, right? But
Yes.
one's going in one direction, the other one's going in different directions as well. Let's do that's a good one. Omega's 579. Woke means that you put your personal agenda in place of serving the story. Well, again, even I still say, in my opinion, people tend to just use it as a catch-all phrase. And I know somebody mentioned earlier that it's not, that and explained the reason why. But the reality is, if you're just basically throwing woke around like it's like oh, that's woke, this is woke, that's woke, then you sort of are using it as a catch-all phrase to just explain something really quickly. You know what I mean? So we're not ignoring that, but we're just going to keep moving on, because honestly, we could talk about being woke until the cows come home.
This is a great. I don't want to put this one in. This is a great one.
That's a great one. Go ahead, read it.
Streaming does have a pacing issue. That's real. Overall season length, individual episode length, miniseries aren't a new concept, but these things aren't flowing at all because they're chopped up weird. If you take a look, especially with Netflix, this is a great point. There was a point where you would look at a Netflix series, especially if it was like, say it was a Marvel series, you would know that by episode 6, you would get the villain-centric episode where you delve into the villain's backstory. So you can almost do beat for beat for like by episode, what kind of episode you're going to get. And you're right. Streaming is kind of, it's a hodgepodge. It's a mixed bag. And some of these series should probably only be like 5. Doesn't have to be 13.
Yeah.
And some of them you need more, right? Like I think the Brits kind of have it right. Sometimes they only do 4 episodes, and that like 4 1.5 hour episodes, and that's it, as opposed to 6 or 8 45 or half hour episodes.
Well, how many episodes was Kenobi? Kenobi was like 10 episodes, like 8 episodes,
something like that.
Yeah, it was short. It was short and sweet, right? And it wasn't great.
You
know what I mean?
Kenobi could have been shorter. To be honest, between you and I, Kenobi could have been.
There were a bunch of filler episodes too, but the reality is, they told an interesting story, and they had the fight everyone was expecting, and then all of a sudden it went the way it went, right? Did it change anything? No. It kind of like told this side story of what was Kenobi, what was Ben actually doing all those years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was trying to find himself, right? He was actually losing touch with his idea of what the Force was. He was losing faith in a lot of ways. But at the end he stuck it out, and he really did complete the mission, right? And we saw that all the way through till the end of like I said, we even see that continuing until Rebels, right, where he meets up with Ezra, right? Spoilers ahead. But yeah, it's this thing like how far are you going to take these stories, right? It's crazy. The fellow attorney at 10:59 says he's going to Ross in a couple of minutes. good on you, brother.
Yeah, well, it's on the West Coast, so that makes sense.
Yeah, Palpatine 1975. Good evening, my friend. How are you doing tonight? Good to see you.
How you doing, sir?
Yeah, and then right after that, Jeff Morris. I still buy Star Wars TVC at full price for the characters I want. If it's a character I don't, then I might wait for it on clearance. That is a good strategy, right? Always get the ones you want first, and then cherry pick the ones that are not so important to you. Ryan Ventek, each individual episode. So
give me the time because I scrolled down.
He was two down. He was like 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock.
We got so many comments. It's crazy.
I know it's crazy.
Here we go.
You picked a good topic tonight. Ryan Ventek, each individual episode of Acolyte costs more than Godzilla minus one. Ha ha. Very funny. Although I'm not gonna.
You're not wrong.
I'm not gonna say no. I'm not gonna say no. All right. Star Wars Acolyte figures spotted at a few Targets. I mean, they're gonna be sitting there for a while. You know what I mean? Like it's not unusual. Pedro Lopez, that Chitara figure you want is my avatar. Is that actually her?
No, that's Wolverine. That's X-23.
No, but that's who it is. X-23 is the actress for the Chitara figure.
Oh, really?
That's her. That is her. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a very short individual, so which is awesome. I picked up a Jedi Knight Revan, sorry, and HK-47 at a full price instead. It depends on you. Acolyte had a space at Ross before the toys came out. That's hilarious. It was Acolyte fiction display in Destiny. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. The next one's an interesting one. All you have to ask is what was Yoda doing the Acolyte and it falls apart.
Okay, so that's an interesting point because obviously you'd have to be like living under a rock to miss some of the reveals, right? But I think what you're getting, and I think what might be like upsetting a lot of the fan base, is that you're almost retconning some of the characters that we revere for these new stories. So because my like sometimes you ask, well, what the hell was Yoda doing for 800 years? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what was he doing? And the Jedis are not necessarily seen as like the heroes. I think what's happened is by trying to make everything so well-rounded, and I'm just putting that in quotes as a writer. Let me center myself here. We've kind of gotten away from what these stories are really about. This is just my opinion as a creator, as a writer, and as a consumer of this stuff for 5+ decades. It's bad guys versus good guys. And then you have those kind of cool characters that straddle good and bad, right? The Punishers, the Wolverines, the Qui-Gons, right? You can even argue people like Catwoman are on that. But you want your decidedly bad fighting decidedly good. And your bad guys, like in wrestling, will win the odd time. But you want to see good triumph over evil. And when you then have 50 years of Yoda or 40 years of Yoda being a certain way, and this is what got me out of Star Wars, Luke being a certain way, and then you're presented with this new version because of the way you're like people are advancing the stories, you're like, what? Like, full disclosure, I was not happy with the Rian Johnson portrayal of Luke, and they did everything in their possible power to kind of breathe new life and show respect, give Luke his flowers when he showed up in the TV series, in the Mandalorian TV series.
I know where you're going with that, and yeah, I understand, but it's. We can talk about the prequel, the last trilogy until the cows come home. I mean, like it was just crazy because there was a direction by one director, moved on to a completely different director, and then moved back to the original director. There's a lot to be said about how that worked out. But ignoring that, because not that you should ignore it, but at the same time, in a lot of ways you can ignore it. We're now looking at what Star Wars is now becoming, right? And I think that seems to be where people are becoming extremely critical, and fans are divided. Fans are extremely divided, right? If we look at
this is actually a good answer to Omega. What was Yoda doing? The same thing he did in the prequels. He trains younglings until war broke out.
Yeah, but I think the question really be the reason that came up is because spoilers ahead, Yoda and Darth Plagueis actually show up in the series, right?
Yes.
So that's a thing. But as you said earlier, it's a blink and you'll miss it kind of scenario, right? Um, the the truth is, from watching a review. Well, before we finally get to that, let's go to let's see here. Oh gosh. Again, everyone's having their conversations about woke, and then again, we're not that
we will never solve that.
That's the point, right? So not that we're ignoring it, but I'm just trying to get the relevant content here, guys. I apologize, but it's just you guys are having your own side conversations, so I'm not going to
which is amazing. But I'm going to give you this one because you mentioned
great. Yeah. I want them in 2,000 miles from the nearest Ollie's. Jay is far closer to me than Ollie's, and he lives in a different country. So let's see some at Ross. Well, I mean, like it's not untrue what you said, but I still have to travel quite a distance to get there too.
And the reason why he said that is Nick Hayes. Thanks for the comments. Acolyte figures are the new Ollie's exclusives.
I love that. That is so cool. If you want to cut to G Zambrano at 11:13, it's interesting. This is a very interesting comment as well. That's John Smith, but okay. Most things seem to be over long these days. Look at the Halo series; could have been cut maybe 70%, 7%. Yeah, but by that notion, it got canceled just recently, right? So it's either you go long enough to get canceled, or you actually have a beginning, a middle, and an end, which a lot of series just don't. Like a lot of series just get cut off before they finish what they want to say.
But they're also producing these shows to fill content because they need subscribers. Streaming needs subscribers.
Yes,
right?
And
they're not relying on ad dollars anymore like in the old days.
Yeah, and especially since, and here, like, you and I, we can actually talk about this later, but should Disney have actually created Disney Plus? It's bleeding cash for them right now. It's absolutely, they just don't know what to do with it anymore, right? Well, but they have to continue because they need to show that the investment was worth it, right? It's crazy.
They're committed now.
Yeah, and this was the one I wanted to read. Remember, G. Zambrano. Remember, Kenobi started as a movie. It could have been 1.5 hour episodes, like a miniseries back in the day. This is true, and that's actually why the format was what it was, right? So, great point to be made there. 100%. Thank you, G. Yeah, the very next one is interesting too. The Villain Attorney at 11:14.
There we go.
Yeah, like Obi-Wan was a super expensive way to show why Kenobi called Vader Darth. That is definitely an interesting way to show that parallel for sure.
Well, the felon's on his way, but got to run. Hail to the chat and the host. Have a good evening, and thanks for joining in, and good luck on all these, man.
Absolutely. And Kevin Davis right below that. Actually, it was the next one. It's the next one below that. Yoda was in the Acolyte. Did I miss the last 2 seconds?
You blinked.
You blinked. That's the problem. Okay. You literally blinked.
But here, you know what though? I think Jeff has a good way to look at it. I'm offended. You're saying I'm easily offended. LOL. And
see this?
And I'll go back to this. Right. In the end, they're just stories. Right. I'll just use myself personally. I don't like what's going on in modern Spider-Man comics, but I'm not going to rant and necessarily rave over how bad they've been for a long time. I'll just go back and read the old ones, right? And if I get surprised with a good story every once in a while or a good movie, I'll consider myself lucky. But there's enough content there, and I think Star Wars and Star Trek and some of these are in the same boat, where we should be able to, like, if we're watching sports, you like your Yankees, so other people are Red Sox. You go to the game. Hopefully a fight doesn't break out. You all have a beer, enjoy the game, and at the end of it, you go home. I don't think it has to, like, I love the passion, but I don't think it then has to extend into what you think of other people because they like something that's not of your desired palate.
Now, again, it's live and let live, right? That's the type of mentality we should all have. But again, like nerds and geeks, we tend to have wars over who's better, a Picard or a Captain Kirk. You know what I mean? So it's a never ending story. But you know, at the end of the day, this is why we love this stuff, because this is why we become obsessed with it, right? J-Man at 1119.
I was just going there.
Yeah. Remember when Star Wars was based on a movie of movie serials and Kurosawa films? Like, what's with all this random stuff we get these days? Well, the problem with that is when you get as big and successful as Star Wars, which was based off of, as you said, like, you know, Flash Gordon and Kurosawa films, right? The thing is that people want more, and consumerism is such that because people want more, companies want to give more and sell more and do more. I mean, there's a reason why Disney bought Lucasfilms. You know what I mean? There's a big reason why, and there's a big reason why, arguably, George Lucas is trying his best to get it back. You know what I mean? Because he feels they're not handling it with the proper respect that it's due. But we'll see where that goes.
Well, that's a good point though, because like when you think about it, it's quality control. Essentially, it comes down to quality control, and a lot of times when you have certain characters or certain concepts. And I guess Game of Thrones is a perfect example of this. When the creator is involved, like the person that actually comes up with it is involved with it, the through line and whatever they're trying to tell is usually stronger and on point. But like, think of a favorite, you know, restaurant or local eatery in any of your hometowns. When that mom and pop establishment then expands, right? Or they're open up for more hours, the quality dips, right? And I think what we're getting now is just too much stuff. Like I used to remember waiting years to get a certain IP, right? We would have had one IP, it had its run because that's whatever the contract was for, or the ratings were a certain amount, or the studio ran out of money or whatever. And then you had to wait, like you might have seen it in public school, and then you didn't get another one until like high school, right? And now we're getting like any kid that's born now and is like 7, 8, 9, the library of stuff they can go back and watch from their birth, moving all the way up into when they, you know, hit their teenage or early 20s, is basically dwarfing in those 8 years or 10 years what we would have had, what Jay and I were just like aging ourselves. Our entire lifetime, right? Like our entire lifetime, they're getting in like 4 or 5 year chunks. And not to mention where you can then go and get your manga or your anime anywhere. Because when we had to do it, we had to go to like some video store downtown and go get an OVA or get someone who had burnt a VHS or something or some disc. And we would get like, you know, the OG anime from Japan. It wasn't that readily accessible, and I think it's almost like too much of a good thing, if we can say that.
Yeah, no. We're dating ourselves. Yeah, whatever, man. that ship.
This is dating me.
That ship. Yeah, exactly. It's written on your face there. But
pretty much.
But no. You know, I totally agree. I mean, like, you know, there comes a point at which, you know, we all have to just come to the realization that, you know, we are hard. We're about as hard boiled as you're going to get. Like, there's not really any going back at this point. So it is what it is. But you know, the consumerism is always going to be a thing that when you're successful at something, it's just going to come back, and companies want to keep making stuff that people want, right? That's always the hardest thing to do, right? So it is what it is.
And your comment here actually goes into what John Smith is saying. Hey, John, if you want to do a comic, just do the comic. It's not rocket scientist. Which is why a G.I. Joe show that just does the original comic would be great. But people want content. Like the companies that are out there want content, and they're in the business of making money. And it seems counterintuitive because Acolyte one season had done 200 million or whatever the budget is, and franchises look like they're in disarray. But it's not like in the old days where you could just go get a screenwriter or a script, someone believes in it, get the producer behind it, get it made. Everyone's going for IPs. They want brands. They want IPs that they can then turn into toys and shirts and bed sheets. and video games, right? Like, I think Alien is a perfect example. Alien, is it Romulus? I think is out now.
Romulus. Yeah,
and I do want to see it. People are saying it's like the third best Alien movie.
yeah. A lot of people are saying that now. I just came off a live stream that said the exact same thing.
Which really, when you think about it, isn't that hard, because the first two are amazing, and you have the people who think Alien is better than Aliens, and vice versa, right? But did you need all the other ones, AVP and all that kind of stuff? I don't know. But those are the kind of franchises that everyone is looking for. That's why you have Beverly Hills Cop 4. The next one, the next 3, I guess, at some point he's going to be, in the old age home busting criminals.
Well, I mean, look at Will Smith and with Bad Boys, right? And
it should be called Bad Men at this point.
Cranky old
men.
Cranky bad men. That's what it should be called.
At some point, you can't chase anybody, right? When you're a certain age.
Well, I mean, that was the whole joke. I mean, like at one point, he's like, "I got this," but do you really? You know what I mean? Like that was the ask, right? So
right.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna skip a couple of guys and just keep getting to, but we'll say Bernie Lomax is in the chat. Good to see you, brother. John Smith, market failure. Kind of. It's more like market fatigue. I think that's actually what's happening right now. There's just too, as Steve said, there's just too much right now. It's a lot too much of something that nobody asked for. I think that's really what's happening right now. Omega 579 at 11:25. It's hard to say because there is good Star Wars being made without George, but this one, a lot of people are saying it's not, right? But can George make good Star Wars? Well, if you look at Episode 2, you might argue that he can't write a good love story. I mean,
I will contend that if you cut out the love story stuff, that's a solid half-hour action.
Absolutely, and I think that George is strong where George is strong. You know what I mean? Which is why I think Empire Strikes Back was directed by, was it Herschel? Yeah,
Irving. I'm gonna look that up.
Kirshner, right? Kirshner, yeah. And I argue that he had a hard time with the love story between Leia and Han, but he made it work. You know what I mean? Because again, it's still George's story, but George had enough foresight back then to let other people direct the movies that came after the first one, and it worked.
Also, two damn good actors.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, whatever.
What was Harrison Ford's line? Like, you can write this stuff, but you can't say it.
Yeah, you can write this stuff, but you can't, and you just can't say it right on camera, right? But he, again, like you said, they made it work. Both of them did. And you got to remember, these are stories which were originally made for a PG audience. You know what I mean? They weren't really made for like adults, right? This was supposed to be fun, stories that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just getting back to the comment about them being serials, right? Like, that's even why you have like the transitions, which are the wipes. Like, that's what those old serials from the 40s were, right?
Exactly. Yeah, very old cinematography and transitions. All right, so let's go to Bernie Lomax at 11:29. Says that everyone wants to say when Disney did this, when Disney did that. I think it wasn't Disney, as it's more George Lucas's fault for selling his so-called baby. Greed was at the end that got the best of him, and that's a fact. You say that, right? But how old was he when he sold it? I mean, George is not a spring chicken right now. I remember at the time he was saying that he wants to let other people tell tell new stories. That's not a selfish thing to do, right? I mean, yeah. Like $1 billion later, you know what I mean, with stock options, blah blah blah, right? But why shouldn't somebody be able to sell their property? You know what I mean? And hopefully hand it off to somebody he trusted, right? The whole idea with handing it off to Disney and Kathleen Kennedy at the time, he said it. He was like, "Well, Kathleen and I have worked for years, and I trust her." That was actually what he said when he handed it off, right? And fast forward, another decade, and now it's like, well, I don't like the direction they took it in, so now I'd like to try and get back in. And now it's like, well, we'll keep you on as an advisor, George, but we don't want you writing our stories, right? So, yeah, it's tough to say. And you got me there. Oh, it's a fact. He sold it for profit. Fine, I'll go ahead and take that. But at the end of the day, he wants to get back in. He wants to make more stories. So there's always okay. You're following that up at the end there. You don't sell your children. This is the fact. You can't explain that. Well, that's not. You know what? Hold on for a second. And you know what? I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say that. Of course, you don't sell your children. Like what? Fine. But you know what? If your children become more successful than you, isn't that the dream of every parent? You know what I mean? Isn't the dream of every parent to have a doctor in the family? Isn't the dream of every parent to have a basketball star in the family? Isn't the dream of every parent to have someone to succeed them, to be better than they are, and be able to walk their own path? Isn't that isn't that what maybe George was thinking? That my child is going to grow and other people are going to take care of this child. I don't know.
I also think too that we kind of lose sight of it because we come into these things as kids and then we grow with them. But George Lucas didn't get into film to not get paid. He wanted a bag, right? Like, yeah, you want to make movies and you want to be an artist and you want to be able to kind of marry the two, but he wasn't going to make movies if he couldn't eat, right? And he came up with a group of directors, De Palma, Spielberg, Scorsese, that they were making movies that were making money and critically acclaimed, right? And if money wasn't an issue, he wouldn't have been making those merchandising deals when we were kids to make all the toys, right? He would have said, "Nah, I just want to make."
No, but you are reciting the modus operandi that he actually had to do. Yeah. He needed, again, Steve, you know the story.
Absolutely.
He had to make those deals because he wanted to make the movie he wanted to make, right?
Absolutely.
Who would have thought? Even he didn't think that would become a multi-billion-dollar industry for toys.
Nah, no, that's hindsight. That's hindsight. Yeah. But you need, like, filmmaking is so expensive and it's so many moving parts. And the thing that he was making wasn't a run-of-the-mill film, right? It's not like simple set, simple lighting, like state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, never-before-seen special effects in locations around the world.
They pioneered that, right?
They pioneered a lot of it, right?
Yeah, Industrial Light and Magic, right? Which was always joined at the hip with George Lucas. If it wasn't for their ingenuity, their ideals, right? We wouldn't see that. Like the biggest thing we'd seen prior to that was probably 2001: A Space Odyssey, right?
Yeah,
and that was more. That was less. That was less. That was more. No matter what, that was just more of another director who had a vision, right? Yeah, Stanley Kubrick, right? But George Lucas had something that he had a clear vision. And the problem is, even the people who he had hired at the time, if you look at the documentaries that were running around that time, even the people he had hired, were traditional cinematographers, and they're like, no, you tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And what they came up with was something that George was like, no, I can't do this, right? This is not the film I wanted to make. He literally brought in his wife at the time, recut the film the way he wanted to do it, and that led into its own set of problems. But at the end of the day, he had a very clear vision of what he wanted to do, and thank goodness for that, right? And thank goodness he had the foresight to let other directors take the helm after the fact, because again, those made the film arguably better, right? But
but also too, though, right? There's only so much time in the day, and you can see it with like your favorite TV shows, especially back before, like, let's just go to like HBO. We're not even talking about streaming, but just HBO for cable and regular network television. When you have a showrunner that starts with a show, the show changes as soon as they leave. Even if you've got people that have worked underneath them and you can leave the blueprints there, that singular vision is important to keeping the flavor and the charm and that je ne sais quoi that we can't really quantify to make something special. That's why, like, manga is so special, because it's like it's one or two dudes or dudettes just making their product and churning it out over years. It's not like 15 books and then we're doing the next 30 with somebody else or 5 with somebody else. And that's how you then get this kind of diluted kind of vision that doesn't make the original fans happy. And that's basically like Lucas had to divest himself in making the movies, because guess what? As a creator, yeah, Star Wars is great, but I want to do this Indiana Jones thing. Can't do them both.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, 100%. Omega 579. George trusted the wrong person with LFL. Star Wars, Indy, and Willow all worse than what he left. Yeah, Lucasfilm.
That's what we were saying.
Yeah. We're on the same train there, 100%. I mean, I watched Willow as far as I could, and I honestly, it was just a weird show overall. I didn't really mind the last Indiana Jones film. I thought it was okay. They were trying to do a send off for, and even then they sort of still left it open. Derek Kuto, if they make a Darth Maul movie with him running things with his brother in Lotho Minor, I'd watch it. So yeah, but we already know where that ends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, it's interesting. Crimson Dawn. I mean, where would that have gone? Like obviously they're a syndicate, right? They're a mafia, if you will, right? So yeah, it would have been interesting. And that's actually, so there's another thing. That's actually where Solo was supposed to go, right? We were supposed to find out what happened to Crimson Dawn, right? But again, it was a side effect of what was happening at the time, right? I think that's probably the easiest way to explain that.
And that I can't remember his name, but that actor had a hard time filling Harrison's shoes.
Yeah,
right?
It's hard.
It's hard.
Really is hard. Bernie is feeling really strongly about this. The downfall of Star Wars to me was when George Lucas released Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 into theaters, adding new content.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
Yeah, as George said, his Star Wars was like a child. Hence, you saying you don't sell your children. I hear you, Bernie, but that's a saying. You know what I mean? And I know where you're coming from with that. But the reality is that, and I will echo Jeff Morris. Yeah, a movie franchise is not a child. Like when you go into making these things, you go in with the intention of making money. I mean, like again, George had a vision for the first Star Wars movie, the first trilogy, and that was just to further his career. You know what I mean? Like, and afterwards he made Willow, which was a nobody who would have really thought a movie about a bunch of foreshortened people would have actually been a success. You know what I mean? Who would have? Oh, wait, there are hobbits out there too, right? But again, like this is the thing, right? On paper, when you pitch, if you pitch that to a studio that's not yours, Lucasfilm Entertainment, if you pitch that to a studio and say, "Hey, I want to make a story about I'm just gonna say it, a midget sorcerer," right? They're gonna be like, "Who? What? What are you talking about?" Right? Like that's usually the thing here, the response you're gonna get, right? Instead, what an amazing film, right? That's actually what came out of that. And how did that happen? Because he funded a lot of it himself. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of.
He also had the juice, right?
Yeah,
like
he had the
money as well as clout. You drop something like Star Wars, man, you can make almost anything.
Pretty much at that point, absolutely 100%, right? Indiana Jones, that was actually easier because again, it's about a dude going around the world with
again serials, right? Made off of those like 1940s, 1930s serials.
Exactly, right? And then you get something like the Star Wars Christmas special. What the hell happened there? You know what I mean? That's
first appearance of Boba Fett, though.
Yeah, exactly. But that's where you're
and Chewie's wife. We never see her again.
Yeah, but that's corporatism, right? That's where you're selling something absolutely. To CBS or NBC or whoever it was, and say, hey, how about you give me $1 million to do this? And then it's like, oh yeah, sure, take it. You know what I mean? That's where
the old stereotype of like the mogul in a chair going, yeah, but we need this. Right?
Groucho Marx, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Bernie, you know what? I will say where he's directing it, American Graffiti.
Oh wow, yeah, that's actually a really good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
American Graffiti. Yeah. But the best movie he's been associated with, for me, it's Empire.
That was and that was wasn't that the film that made, or not made, but wasn't that the film that introduced Harrison Ford to the world?
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
and
No,
then-
I think it was American Graffiti.
Yeah.
That's where he first met George.
I
They
think
hit
he
it off. And,
up Cindy Williams, who ended up playing Shirley in Laverne and Shirley. Again,
there you
dating.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bernie, it was American Graffiti was a George Lucas film. Yes, yeah, 100%. Ryan Ventek, they should introduce Bernie Lomax as the new emperor. now, calm down, kids, calm down.
Hold
all right, so
one last one before we change topics. Alien is a good horror sci-fi movie. Aliens is a good action sci-fi movie. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And you know what? The MCU kind of took that kind of line where some of their movies are spy films, kind of like Winter Soldier, and then other movies are horror. I guess you can say Hulk is in the horror genre, or at least they could play it that way. So you can take the genres and then wrap your characters that fit in them into a good project, and then it works, right? I guess you could label Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as a horror.
well, yes, Multiverse of Madness, yes.
Considering Sam Raimi's the director, then why not?
Well, that was the whole point, right? That actually was. There were some really good jump scares in that one too, actually.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, so we'll take one last comment from Color.
Yeah. I love Willow movie. I was excited with the series, then disappointed when I watched it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that happens a lot. I know it happens with me, not to get off of comic books, but every time I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, so I'm always excited for the season, except for this one. And then Jerry Jones finds a way to disappoint me. So I totally get you, Cooler, because you love something, you want it to do well, you liked it in the past, and then you see the current iteration of it, and it's pure Kleenex. What can you do? You just cry. But speaking of movies and what's upcoming, there is a rumor going around there that Sydney Sweeney is being considered for the Black Cat in the next Spider-Man movie.
The next Spider-Man movie, interesting. Now, that's fine. I'm very excited about the choice. I mean, Sydney Sweeney is a great actress, but now I'm wondering who's going to be Spider-Man. I mean, like, that's really, I think, on the top of everyone's mind. Like, what's actually going to happen here? Is it an MCU or is it a?
I'm assuming, considering her age, that it's going to be Holland. It's going to be Peter Holland. Listen to me; he's so embodied the country. Tom Holland, the character Tom Holland, Spider-Man will be, will be the lead in that one. My question is the dynamic between Zendaya's MJ, Tom Holland, and Sydney Sweeney. I think that'd be kind of interesting on screen.
Yeah, and then they still have to tell. Yeah, no, 100%, right? Because the Black Cat has always been, one foot in, 1 foot out, right? So that'll. And actually, by that notion, this actually would be a good time to tell that story, because this is where MJ and Peter were on the rocks, right? Here,
and they don't even know who Peter Parker is anymore.
There's the key, right? They have actually no idea who Peter Parker is. So yeah, it would definitely be 100% a more interesting tale to tell. And then all of a sudden, MJ figures it out, and boom, they're buddy heads or whatever, right? Or she falls in love with Peter all over again. Now she's fighting for his affections, right?
That would be. You know what though? I think maybe Disney and Marvel should call you. That's actually a pretty good thing, where Black Cat's the thing that kickstarts, that absolutely kickstarts her memory of Peter.
That would be neat. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Right? And then she's like fighting to get him back, right? So that would be a very interesting little part of that. That would be neat.
Ryan, you got me dying of laughter here.
That's awesome. Yeah, he can do no wrong. He can do no wrong.
Oh my gosh,
he can do no wrong.
No, he can't. Although I did also see that he said he's going to be Victor Von Doom, so he's going to be the OG Doctor Doom, and I'm I'm now even more skeptical of the casting.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially because of that notion, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they have a vision for this. We'll see. We'll see if it works, right? Who's directing this film anyway?
I don't know, actually. I'm not quite sure, because I think that Sony and I know that they extended the contract where they're able to make movies and use them, but Sony's going absolutely nuts doing all of Spider-Man's villains as films. And Craven, they just dropped a trailer for Craven with Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think his name is. I may have gotten his name wrong, but he's in the running to play James Bond, and was in Bullet Train, and he was Quicksilver in one of the Avengers movies.
I think that's the other thing. He was already Quicksilver, right? So
yeah,
it's interesting how that's going about.
But basically, all of Spider-Man's villains, Spider-Man probably has the second most, and some people can argue, but probably the second most popular rogues gallery, and they're all in movies without him because of the whole Sony Marvel.
Yeah, it's the rights. They have to keep pumping out these movies, which are connected to Spider-Man somehow, in order to keep the renewal of the license. Because if they, somewhere in there it says, it's not in perpetuity, so it has to be like every 10 years. If they don't make a movie, they're or whatever it is, 5 years or 10 years, the rights rescind back to Marvel. So yeah, it's again. You gotta love lawyers. Lawyers make everything so much fun.
Yeah, sure.
14 Orgy. That name will always get me, man. You're killing me, bro. Nobody said Peter. Nobody said Peter can have both, though. Do we have to fight? Seriously? Do we have to fight? Is that the thing?
And then
what? No Spider-Man versus Venom?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, they've written him very much like an anti-hero. The problem is he's a bit too much hero than anti, so it's kind of that way.
That's what happens when villains have to like headline their own movies, right? Yeah. They can't actually be bad.
Yeah, but what needs to happen is that Venom has to really want revenge on Peter. I think that because of how he feels about him in a different universe or whatever. But I guess we'll find out, right? I mean, they alluded to that at that little bonus scene
in the bar.
Yeah.
So. Either in the bar or something that he saw something on TV. Something.
Yeah, no, he was. It was his. He went from a crappy apartment in one universe to a hotel somewhere in.
Yeah, at a resort or something.
Yeah. So it was one of those. It's a bonus scene at the end of the day, and of course we know that those bonus scenes don't actually hold water. They retcon them all the time. Yeah. So
do I see Aaron?
Aaron Hardy says, "I think the Predator that do that." To protect their technology.
You know what? I think that is related to Bernie's comment earlier. Alien is so much better to me than Predator, which is a poor loser. Think about it, an alien hunting with thermal vision and plasma weapons and destroys all, including when it loses. Poor sport. Yeah, so according to Aaron, that's how you protect your
technology? Your technology. I don't disagree. I mean, like the Romulans have done it. They blow up their ships all the time if they get captured, right? And it's not unheard of. It does happen.
Here's Willie saying, Wolverine.
Wolverine, what's going on, bro?
How you doing? Welcome to the stream.
Always good to see you. Omega Prime Primus, just above that. Russo brothers be back directing the 2 Avengers movies. Oh, this is true.
Yeah, and I think that is part of the stipulation as to why RDJ signed on the dotted line.
Yeah,
to get those two back.
He trusts those two, and that's what's really important.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
And of course, a bag full of cash. So
that always pushes you over the edge for sure.
But I've always said it. Money fixes everything, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how that Spider-Man movie got made. All 3 Spider-Men in the same room. That's crazy. Spider-Man's worst villain is Jackal. Did you know that? Jackal drove Peter so nuts he was locked up in a nut hut.
That's true. That's based on the Clone Saga back in different Clone Saga for you Star Wars fans. But that's back in the day when there was a clone of Spider-Man from the 70s, and then he made his reappearance in the 90s, and then Marvel's brilliant kind of marketing scheme was to then let you think that the Peter Parker you'd been reading since 1977 or something was actually the clone. Yeah, it's an interesting twist, but Ben Reilly has been put back into his proper spot. That's Peter Parker's clone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, always trying to come up with new ideas, and that's actually why the things are the way they are.
Absolutely.
What's going on, figuratively speaking? Good to see you, brother. Always good
Yeah.
to see the figurative.
Welcome. Speaking of comics, right, and then we'll get to Superman in a second. I'm just going to go full screen on me here.
Sure, go for it.
I went to the local comic book store by me in Toronto called Red Nails, and my buddy Vito and the owner Ed let me know that these two books, well, this is actually just number one of a new Wolverine series by superstar artist Greg Capullo. So this one is the regular cover. I'll pull it back here. I feel like John Candy from the old SCTV days. So this is called Wolverine Revenge. So there's a regular edition, and then there is the Red Band edition. And basically what it is, it's it's almost like a reimagining, not quite an Elseworld. I guess it's kind of like an Elseworlds, that what DC was doing. And it pits Wolverine in a different time and a different reality. And he goes on a mission with Nick Fury, Captain America, and the Winter Soldier. And it just kind of lets Greg Capullo, who drew Spawn back in the day, recently did a banger of a Hulk cover and was a Batman artist in where he did the Court of Owls storyline. He's back at Marvel now, and you could tell he's having a lot of fun. And the Red Band book basically gives you extra pages with more gore. And when I say more gore, it's like over the top gore and lots of detail. The colorist probably just had a field day putting it in, but it'll be interesting because I think it's a 5-issue miniseries. And the first one dropped today. I gave it a quick read. It's enjoyable. And it's one of those ones where you can kind of like get rid of continuity and just enjoy it.
I like the idea of a Red Band version. That's actually kind of neat. Like, that's not usually something you do in comics because, again,
yeah.
But I guess these days, printing is cheap enough where you can pretty much try something like that. So, have you read them both yet, or is it?
I read them both, and the interesting thing is that the Red Band version. Let me get this straight. So the Red Band version came in a plastic bag.
Really?
Yeah. So you couldn't open it. Protecting the children.
Yeah, it's
about the children.
It's
right?
for the kids.
It's about the kids.
Like kids read comics anymore. Jesus.
Right. Exactly. And if they played any first person shooter, they've seen way more guts and gore for sure. Right. So it's not a big deal. But definitely it's something that I'll take a look at for I guess next month when it comes out. I'll follow it. And it's got some unexpected twists, right? Foes are friends and friends are foes. And so it's just a really interesting take on the character. And it looks like Jonathan Hickman, who's writing it, Greg Capullo on pencils, and I think Townsend is the inker. They're all just having a blast. That's a top-notch production from letterer and colorist all the way down. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out.
Yeah, as always. And is it a miniseries? Like how?
Yeah, self-contained miniseries. It's kind of interesting because there's and I'm not sure if they took inspiration from this, but legendary X-Men artist John Byrne, he actually was continuing to draw X-Men comics for himself.
Oh.
And he just post them online. So you can find them online if there are any John Byrne fans in the chat. And you can post it, like he was posting online. And so like Alpha Flight was in it. They're in the Savage Land. Characters that he wanted to keep alive ended up being alive. So it's almost like the continuity of the book after he left. Don't worry about that. He's doing his own fanfic. and he still can draw like nobody's business. Like the book looks great, the pencils look great, and I know fans have been screaming for him to put them into to compile them, right?
Yeah,
and they look great without a doubt. The pencils, and so he's a pretty good plotter. Like I would probably argue that after Kirby, he is the next greatest creator in terms of pencils, visuals, and writing. Because Stan gets a lot of credit for the writing, but like the Marvel method, a lot of it was put on to the artist, and Kirby's level of creation when it comes to character creation is unbelievable. And John Byrne did the same, whether it was with X-Men, FF, Alpha Flight, when he rebooted Superman in the mid 80s, in that Man of Steel, and it kind of depowered him and changed the Silver Age version of the character. And actually, Toy Binging makes the same comment that I was just doing. His Man of Steel was a great origin story. Absolutely. And so this Wolverine kind of takes that as inspiration, where not the Man of Steel stuff, but the stuff that Byrne's doing with X-Men. And it's like, I want to tell this kind of story unencumbered by continuity and just have some fun with characters, right? It's kind of like what Marvel used to do in What If as a comic, as opposed to like the animated series. Yeah. So if there are any comic book fans in the house, go check this one out. It's really, really good.
So, and then I think we were going to talk about Superman at the
so we're going to finish up with Superman. It just finished wrapping. It wrapped this week, and that now means if they're going to be releasing in 2025, I think it's July, that gives them almost a year for post-production. So this movie's going to look great. I'm not sure it's going to be great, but giving the VFX artists that much time, there shouldn't be any of that rushed stuff that we saw with the MCU.
Yeah, you say that, but
fingers crossed.
Yeah, you say that, and that's wishful. That's always the wish. That's always the dream, right? But I think the fundamental problem with the industry is that Hollywood doesn't pay its visual effects artists what they need to be paid in order to do their job right. It's
pay and time.
There's just the reality. Like it's my understanding that many a special effects house has gone bankrupt just on the because of the whole bidding process. You know, in order to work in the Hollywood machine, you have to come under a certain bid, and that's the problem. Because like again, they're not being allowed to quote for a job. They actually need to bid for a job, right?
Yeah.
And when you get into that situation, every studio is basically going to say you can do better, you can do better, you can do better, right? And they're literally just killing these poor, for the most part, freaking effects monkeys. That's the way they treat them, right? It's absolutely freaking terrible, right?
Yeah.
So my hope and my dream is that yes, the special effects are going to be good and on budget, but then of course you get that same situation where the Flash.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. Forget the fact that they had to redo it a couple times and this and that, whatever. But I'm sorry, the Flash was just rough. Thankfully, the material was enough that you could sort of just accept it as what it is, move on. But again, time travel, right? All this kind of stuff. But the crux of the whole narrative is that this is supposed to be an immersion, and that immersion is lost. You know what I mean? So yeah, it remains to be seen. Like obviously pre-production photos are always going to look terrible. I mean, that's the whole reason why they're. I mean, you're shooting it from like 600 feet away. You know what I mean? With a lens which is like this big, at an angle which like so
Yeah.
it's flattering at all, right? I mean, even if you look at some shots from Henry Cavill when he was doing his pre-production, the suit's glued onto him, but not every angle is flattering, right?
And the cape was CG and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you know,
But we'll leave on this note because I think this was interesting. So you know how Warner Brothers deep sixed a whole bunch of their potential. I think there was a Scooby-Doo movie. There was the Batgirl movie. Someone asked Michael Keaton how he felt about Batgirl.
the original Batgirl. Okay.
No,
Oh yeah.
the Batgirl movie. And he goes, Michael Keaton says he doesn't really care that Batgirl got canceled. No, I didn't care one way or another. Big, fun, nice check.
I mean, she did get paid for the role. You know,
Yeah,
what I
everyone
mean?
got paid,
Yeah.
right? You would get paid, but that's for some people, that is a resume piece to say that you worked on a Warner Brothers Batman associated film.
This is true. But here's the
Right.
thing: it does exist. They don't just destroy the film. It's there. It's in the archives. You know what I mean? So you never know. They might pull it out and dust it off. It does that stuff does actually look at the Snyder cut. The Snyder cut is the let's put it this way. The Snyder cut is the dream of every director who's never had their film actually put to put to cellulite. You know what I mean? It is the hope and dream of every, because you know it's somehow by some miracle it got out there, right? And the thing is, somebody could go into Warner Brothers, steal the film, and actually put it on the market. That happens too.
I'm
know what I mean?
sure. I'm sure it's ripped. Someone ripped a copy somewhere and is just
Absolutely.
waiting.
Absolutely.
Because if
There
that
will
FF movie saw the light of day, the early '90s
in
Roger
Europe
Corman
somewhere,
one,
yeah.
then that Batgirl is somewhere.
Yeah, and didn't they put that on DVD somewhere? I'm pretty sure it's.
Oh,
being
you
sold
go to
for-
conventions?
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could find that at a convention, no problem.
Yeah.
That was VHS or DVD burned for sure. Convention
Yeah.
contraband.
So there's always hope, everybody. You know, it's all built on hope.
Yes, for sure. Well, Jay, I want to thank you for another amazing episode. I want to heartfelt thanks to everyone who was in the chat. That was one lively chat group. It was unbelievable, the back and forth. Great points. It was civil. Loved it. Love when you guys chime in and give us your 2 cents. It's perfect.
100%. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, for being here. And again, we can all have great conversations. We don't have to. We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. That's the nature of actually having a discussion. So thanks, guys.
All right. So from Steve, I'm out. Keep it indie. Jay.
Good journey, everybody. Geek
All
proud.
right.